Hey, if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I don't know why I'm doing this. Alright, so first let me say that I am petrified of needles. Like, that is no joke, alright? I have a tattoo already, and it was such a mission to get, alright? Having said that, I'm issuing a tattoo challenge. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, what is that? Well, there's a link in the description below. Please go check it out. It's called the Tattoo Challenge. In a nutshell, if you guys can get me to 5,000k subscribers before the 16th of August, I'm gonna get a tattoo chosen by you guys. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I decided to do this. Having said that, enjoy the show.
Hello. Not what you think. It's not. The beauty of live shows, man. Now I can't take that back. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what happened there, but just, hello and welcome to Let's Talk. I hope you guys had a phenomenal long weekend. Happy Women's Day, belated Women's Day for all of you. And we are here. We are here to talk about how tech has influenced children, the influence that children may have from tech and children. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Where the line should be drawn, if any at all, and maybe some of the dangers that you are not sure of, maybe you don't realize. And I think the best way to go about this, firstly, is to introduce my guest for this evening. We have Jannie Vandervoort on that side, who is a tech guru genius guy, and he just knows so much about tech. He enlightened us on the last show with the dark web. Very interesting show that we had there. I encourage you all to go check it out. And he's also a very ongoing. What's the word I'm looking for? You're a gamer. In case people want to know that. And then on this side is Beth from Eleutheria. Please, ladies and gentlemen, go subscribe to Eleutheria. Link is in the description below, as well as Jannie's YouTube channel is also in the description below. She talks about liberties and everything about liberty, only liberty, lady liberty. Everything you need to know is on that channel, so please go check her out. And she's joining us in this conversation because Jannie and I wanted to talk about how tech has influenced children over the years. And here's the thing, though. I don't have kids, nor does Jannie, unless you count fur babies, which I guess also get influenced by tech. That's another one. But Beth has kids, so we felt that maybe having an actual mother or parent on the show would be interesting to get their feedback. Anyway, here's my opinion about the topic. And once again, I don't have kids, so this is just my opinion. I think that tech has done great things for children. I know that nowadays, children can learn, multiple choice spelling. It's very good for learning abilities and stuff like that. Especially kids who have disabilities, tech can really help them, no doubt there. However, I do think that there's a very dark side of tech, a very, very, very dangerous side of tech that I feel is too easy for children to wander into, if I can put it that way. And that's where I'm like, what age should we allow our children to even have mobiles? This has been a constant debate for years, I think. My parents didn't let me have a cell phone until I was, I think, 14. And back then it was just texting and phone calls. There was no. I remember when the cameras came into a phone, and we were all like, "Wow, it's 1 megapixel, but it looks great." And now look at the differences. I remember when we could go on the internet on our phone. Yes, I was alive when internet was we could surf the web on our phone, and it was crazy to us how this was possible. But that's where I think some of the trouble may have started, because now kids have iPads, iPhones, Samsung, whatever it is that the parents give them these days, they have access to, even in the school. So where do we draw the line? What are the risks? What are the positives? And we'll start with Beth. You can give your opinion on the matter and maybe answer some of the questions that I just put out. And ladies and gentlemen, please don't be, those of you that are watching, thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Okay, and just a quick disclaimer: there's a spider like coming down from this. So that's what I keep looking at. Okay, like it's frightening me. Anyway,
I
we're
bet
gonna not pay it any more attention.
I bet you wish you had a piece of tech to sort that out.
I have a husband that can sort that out, luckily, so that's great.
Old school.
Yes, old school. So I'm a homeschooling mother of 3, and I would not be able to do what I do with my children for as cheaply as I do it without tech. Khan Academy is absolutely free on you do it on the internet. There's also a free app called Khan Kids that you can give to preschool age children, and it helps them start learning shape recognition, number recognition, all of that stuff. And so, like in our life, definitely tech has its place. However, I keep an eye on what my children do all the time. I'm like over their shoulders, making sure that they're watching appropriate content, nothing that they shouldn't be watching, certain ideologies that I might feel a bit uncomfortable with. But also what I've done is I've fostered an open relationship with my children. There's a two-way communication street. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, my daughter tells me that she was playing Roblox and somebody had put up a sign or something in Roblox that said Black Lives Matter, and somebody countered with sorry, husbands here. All lives matter. I don't know, it went back up. So, sorry.
Hello, husband.
Hello, husband. So they, I then had to have the conversation with her about where this originated from and why it's a problem. That it's now infiltrated a kids' game. But because I have that open relationship with them, that they come to me with things like this, they know that their mom isn't going to judge them. They come to me. They tell me these things, and they want to know what they mean. They seek to understand them, coming from the adults that they trust, that raises them, and everything. So, yeah, I think tech is great to give to our children, and especially over this period of lockdown where they've been isolated from their friends, it's kept them in touch with their friends. But it's also very important that they maintain that real life relationship. Their relationship with their friends mustn't be this. This is not how humans interact. You do not learn body language. You do not learn, the nonverbal cues that people give you by watching your phone. And so I think it's important to strike a balance between the two.
Yes. Very quickly, I just want to go to the comments. I don't want people to think that we're neglecting them. A lot of people tuned in at the moment. Thank you. Acid Zill, Reese Vanderfault is here. Linda Van Rooyen, I see you. And Laura Fry. Corlia van der Merwe also saying, how's it, guys and girls? Kyle here. Lauren. I know how to pronounce your name, I'm sorry. Lauren House saying hi, nice to have you here. Bradley Cook, evening all. Robin saying good evening everyone, and Gentle Inflatables is also here, as well as Mario and Drunk Questioner, probably wanting me to do a shout out to his channel once again. As long as, here's something from the Drunk Questioner saying, as long as you don't use the Covenant Eyes app, every other method to check your kids on life is fine. Oh wait, the the Bark app, don't use that one as well. Okay, so he's talking about some apps that are really ridiculous. You can Google them in your own time. And Reese saying communication, I think, is very important. Beth is spot on. Exactly, Beth. Balance is very important. Chico saying hello, and Paulie Seven Fires also saying how's it. All right, so I think you brought up a good point there with having communication with your children. I think that's also very important. I do have a rebuttal though on that, but I will leave it for when Yanni says his part. So Yanni, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Joe. And I think, thanks, Beth. You actually made a really interesting point by saying to talk to your kids, though, right? Because, to be honest, I did not expect that. Not that I just didn't expect that comment coming. I didn't expect us talking about that today, or being mentioned. And why it's important for me, though, is that what we seem to forget when it comes to technology is that yes, it's this whole different world, but there is still a responsibility to a parent that does not disappear in that world, though, right? So same as you are responsible for your child, when you let your kid go to the park or go to the movies with friends or whatever, there is a conversation you have with your kid. That conversation shouldn't disappear when you talk to your kids about digital. Now, I want to keep that quite broad, though, because we haven't really spoken about the different ages and how that technology starts exposing, because there is obviously the online gaming component of that. Kids starts playing. You did mention Roblox, which is a really awesome game from a development perspective, but it's also a platform that can be used for the role. And there's a conversation that needs to be had with that child, though, right? So, and if you don't have that relationship with your child around talking about these things, then you're again creating a problem where a kid will not feel safe to come to you and say, "Hey, mom, hey, dad, this happened. How do I deal with that?" Because kids don't have that thick skin that we have yet around either being cyberbullying or being some type of forward conversation that's happening. And the important thing for me is and that's what I want to kind of echo in your message, is to say that I think parents should have that conversation with their children, because and as the comment that got made by the drunk questioner around there's some apps out for these things. That's true. There is a couple of apps out. There's some good ones, there's some bad ones. I don't have experience testing them, but I mean that's certainly something that we can research. But again, if you don't have a conversation with your child around why are we even putting this app on your phone, what is it about, then you automatically going to have negativity, because kids are going to try and find ways to circumvent that. The same way as when you hide the cookies really high up, they're going to figure out how to get to the cookie jar, though, right? And same way with technology. So kids will find innovative ways around things, unless you have that, parent to child talk with them and explaining where these risks are and what some of these things are. And those things are hard, because how do you expose a child to that, though? As Joe is saying, I don't have to have that child with my fur baby, that talk with my fur babies, but how do you have that conversation with a child? That is, I think, really hard, because they're innocent, though, right? And now you're in this digital realm of darkness. But on the other side is, I think the thing that you mentioned as well is in education, how far tech has come in education and what tech means for us, even during lockdown, and even just in general, what a kid has exposure to. Because when I was in school, which was in the 90s, research for me was done in the library, the city or town library or whatever. That's where we had to go to. Whereas nowadays, the internet is your platform for research, and it becomes so much harder to do projects and whatever, because the bar has been raised so high from a digital, perspective around what kids just have access to. So, I think awesome for mentioning that, because I think that is a really good thing that we need to make sure that parents know, is that, hey, you have a responsibility, number one, and number two, talk to your child about these things. Let them understand, because that, I think, is going to go a real long way by not having a negative, outcome to this.
Sorry, I was just making notes.
That's cool. I wanted to
Because
stop talking, else I'll just carry on. So
no,
you need
it's
to stop
fine.
me, bud.
It's fine. It's fine. I like this format that we got going, so to speak. So what I'm going to do is, I think we can all agree that yes, parents do need to take responsibility for for managing their children in terms of what they see online and on with technology itself. Now, before we go any further with that, I jotted down some things that I kind of want to throw at you guys and see Yanni from a non-parent but loves tech perspective, and obviously Beth from a parent also loves tech but has that great relationship with her children. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm gonna ask the question, and then I'll give you both a chance to give your answer on it. So, for example, the first one is. What about parents that have a good relationship with their children and they communicate well, but they themselves don't know the risks of the internet? What do you say to that? Beth, we'll start with you first.
Um, Stop being naive. Like,
Right to the point. I like it.
yeah, like if you honestly, if you have a good relationship with your children, you need to know exactly what they are up to in their lives. And there are multiple ways that you can have this access to what they're actually doing. There is there are many, many apps and security measures that you can put on your home networks, on their phones, all sorts of things that you can actually, I don't want to use the word spy, but it is spying, I guess, that you can actually know what they're doing and how they're spending their days.
Well,
And
sorry, I'm gonna stop you there. Sorry, because we did have a comment from Linda that is in line with what you're saying now. She uses something called Family Link, and it really works
okay.
well. I just worry about my 10-year-old playing online. Okay, so that's a whole nother. We'll get to that part in a moment. But Family Link, have you heard of that?
No, I haven't. I use Kaspersky,
It's really good.
and yeah, that's it. That's all we're using at the moment because the SIM card got lost, so they're not on WhatsApp at the moment. So what I was doing to monitor conversations, because there was a bit of a toxic friendship going on, I was monitoring it by having WhatsApp web on my laptop to see exactly what was being said and things like that. So it all depends on how much you want to see. There's a lot of progressive parents that say, oh, but you can't invade your child's privacy like that. You're breaking their trust.
That's actually
You know,
my follow-up question. But you can
you
answer it now.
know, um, I knew in my gut, and I've spoken to you about the situation offline, Joe, so you know how harrowing it was at the time. But I knew in my gut that I needed to monitor that situation, and so I did. Um, you can see it in your child. You can see a change in your child, and that's when you actually need to man up and be the parent. Because trust me, your kids, they're not going to thank you for it today, and they're not going to thank you for it in a couple of years, most likely. But when they're 21 or 25 or whatever, they're going to turn around and they're going to say to you, you know what? You were right, and thank you for keeping me safe.
Exactly. All right, Yanni, what do you say?
What was the question again, Joe? No, I'm teasing. I did half forget the question, but you were asking about
So
what do you do in a
parents,
situation where the
yeah, parents that are naive, as Beth put it, about online, like they have a great relationship with their kids, they raise them well, they know the right and wrongs, but they're kind of like, it's okay if my kid goes online, you know. And there's also that other side of like, I don't want to invade my kid's privacy, that kind of thing. What do you say to that?
yeah, and I agree with that. So this is again the thing, though, right? Let's take tech out of it. Um, in real life, a parent still has a responsibility. when it's something new that child doesn't, that child introduces into that family dynamic now, a new friend they've made, a new whatever that's happened. As humans, parents take certain precautions, though, and those precautions for me should still stick from a digital perspective. And one of the comments that got made in the previous stream that we had was made by Luke Letzlinger, where he said that you can't, that it's not it's not the tech that's the problem, it's for kids, it's the different ethics of what's acceptable behavior for this new generation, and that comes from the parents. So again, I'm pointing it back at the parents and the responsibility that I think they have in taking an interest in a child's life and what is happening. And as Beth has said, there is some apps out and whatever, and we can touch on those things. I don't think it's, for me, it's not important to promote certain apps. The app Kaspersky Safe Kids is, I think, really good, but it's more around, again, talking to a kid and saying to them, why you are doing certain things, whether it's blocking certain apps, internet filtering, or gamifying their experience by monitoring and controlling screen time. There is various things you can have in that discussion, but for me it just comes back to that I think we can't, as anything in life, as adults and as parents, we can't steer away from that responsibility when it comes to technology and exposing kids to technology.
Fair enough. All right, so I want to read this comment from Drunk Questioner. He says, this is on his channel now. I get comments on my channel every day from kids hating on their parents for using monitoring apps. It is quite heartbreaking. Jannie is right. An honest conversation is the first step. So kids don't like it.
But think about it though, Joe. How would you, and Beth made an important point here around invasion of privacy, because I've also been thinking that, because remember, I grew up in a time where this wasn't necessary though, right? I wasn't monitored in that same way. My screen time and what I was doing was a whole lot different than what it is today. So I was never monitored in that way. So definitely for adults, we would feel like, it's an invasion of your privacy. But then again, and it's very, very, very blanket now, if you have something to hide, you will feel like that though, right? And I'm not saying children have something to hide, but I mean, it comes back to talking to them and having an open conversation. It's going to be a lot harder now talking to your 12-year-old that's been playing games on his own and then say, hey, let me sit you down. Let's talk about this rabbit hole, right? A whole lot different than having that conversation from 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years old. And I don't know how you have that conversation. So, I mean, what questions do you ask a child? But it's about, preparing them for, I think, what it is that they are doing. And I had an interesting conversation with somebody else earlier this week around a child that is 6 years old that is also playing Roblox, and how they handle that though. How do you as a parent handle this experience for a child playing online? Because, and I'm not sure if in your situation, but it's not just an individual playing online in a community, because that's mostly how us as an older generation gamer is kind of like, possibly entering some of the online gaming stuff. But you always have a group of friends that you are with. So it's a couple of kids from school. Eventually it extends. You might have a kid from a different city or a different province, and city even. But that is that little group that now everybody's playing Roblox, then we were playing Fortnite, then we were playing this, and they tend to, follow around as they do that. But as a 7-year-old or a 6-year-old, when as an individual they are playing games, like, what do you do? Because they want to play online. A lot of these games are online only, so they are going to end up interacting with people, not necessarily through chat, but there might be some stuff that gets typed, whatever. So what do you do in that case? And in this situation, the parent actually takes time to play games with the child and understanding what is happening in that game. And for me, that comes back to, a little girl coming to you and say, Mommy, Daddy, whatever, I want to play tea and cookies and whatever. And then you have to sit on a little chair and you have to fake drink tea and fake eat cookies. It's that same thing, though, right? I'm trying to make links back to how these things would equate to in real life.
Yeah.
So that was just a good thing for me when I saw it's like, how do they do this with a 6-year-old?
Well, okay, so I have a few comments here that are very interesting. Let's see, where was it? Of course they won't like it. D saying, of course they won't like it. I know they won't like it, but of course, like, they have to learn. When my parents, if if I ever complained to my parents like, oh, I don't like it, it's not fair, you're invading my privacy. My dad would always hit me with this one: you don't like it, leave. But under my house, you follow my rules. And so maybe there's also a bit of a discipline that needs to be implemented as well from the parents. It's not just about communication, but also that relationship of, like Jannie was saying, if a kid feels confused about something, they should go to the parent. And there's actually someone here that said that, which I was trying to look for. I think it was Linda. Yes. So Linda said, my daughter knows why and how I check what she does online, and she often brings her phone to me to share conversations she has on WhatsApp, which I think is an amazing thing.
Fabulous.
Absolutely amazing. I would have never done that with my parents. But that is great. That is awesome. And even Drunk Questioner replying to that saying, that's totally fine. The comments I get are from kids that clearly don't have the type of relationship. Now that's a whole nother discussion for probably another day.
Yeah.
How do we fix that? How can we do that? But it does lead me into something that I feel that, Beth, maybe you should elaborate a little bit on to help some of the parents that might be watching this. And Jannie kind of alluded to it earlier. Is how do you approach it? Just tell us how you approach this from a parent. Give us your little advice. If you were to, if I'm a parent saying, oh, I don't know how to speak to my child about what's going on online gaming, or this happened online or internet, what advice would you give to that parent?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to give you an example of something. Say now your child heard that there was this new play place that opened up in your city, and they wanted to go and play at that play place. Would you take your child there and just drop them off and not even look inside? See, do they actually have the correct safety measures in place? Are they, can your child just walk out of a back door and go missing? Or, once your child is in there, are they in there and they cannot get out until you fetch them? Or, and what type of people are there? Or is it like very rough bully type children that you're just going to leave your child with unaccompanied? Or are you going to stay with them and hang around with them for a little bit, and maybe even the whole time, because you want to see exactly what this place is about? Is it really a safe place for kids to play? Now, any reasonable parent would say, of course I'm not going to drop my kid off at some strange place. But then why do you drop a phone in their hand and give them unfettered access to the internet?
Fair point.
Okay. Rather sit down next to your child and say, this is what you may install on your phone. And now this is something you can do without even having Kaspersky or Family Link or anything on your phone, is you can set it up that they cannot install any new applications without a password, without first signing into your iTunes or your Google Play account. They cannot install those apps. So that's the first step that you can take with your children. You can then ask them, why is this something that you want to play? Why is this something that you want to be involved in? Have those conversations from early on. As soon as you put that phone in that child's hand, you need to start having these conversations. And depending on the age of your child, it depends on whether you'll actually be sitting next to them whilst they play things like Roblox, or not even sitting right next to them and watching every single thing that they do. Just having them play at a desk over there whilst I sit over here, I have eyes on their screen, I can see what's going on. I know when my daughter turns the computer the other way and sits on the other side of the table, she's doing something I've told her maybe isn't a good idea. Maybe she's playing Roblox instead of doing Khan. I know these things. Okay.
You're a mom.
So, you know, you have those conversations from as soon as you start putting the tech in their hands. Now, okay, maybe a parent is stumbling across the stream and they're like, oh, I haven't done that. How do I start? Go to your child at the end of the stream, sit down to them and say, you know what? I think I might have failed as a parent. If you want to get on your kid's good side, tell them that you don't know what you're doing. Okay. Because all of a sudden, you like validate every opinion that they have of you. Okay. And it's like, yes, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what it's like. You don't understand, mommy.
I feel like you're giving state secrets away here. Just by
No. Like, but this is true. And I'm sure there's a lot of parents in the comments and anybody that might stumble across the stream that is going to resonate with this, okay? Sit down and tell your children, I think I've made a mistake. And I think that maybe we need to rethink how you have access to technology. And the reason why I think this is because there is people on the internet that might not be exactly what you think they are. Okay. So I just want us to have this open conversation about what is going on your phone or in your life or whatever you're doing. And I think if there's one piece of advice that I can give to parents right now is either if you haven't started giving your kids tech yet, have the conversation first. But if they already have access to tech and now you're rethinking the access that you've given them, just sit them down and say, these are my reasons why I want to do this. And I believe that this is the best way to keep you safe. It's not because I don't trust you, and it's not because I want to take it away, but it's because something has come to my attention that has made me rethink how we do things.
I agree. And I think that was a brilliant answer, Beth. I don't know if parents have thought of maybe using that angle, but yeah, humbling yourself to your child and saying, look, I don't know everything, but let's maybe figure this out together. Yeah, I like that response, and I think a lot of people will also agree with you on that one. Jannie, do you have any comments about that?
I think, yeah, thanks, Joe. So, firstly, I echo what Beth is saying around when a child is going to a new place and they're asking to go there and whatever. Does a parent go through that reasoning of like, where are you going, who's there, who's the whatever? Because that's exactly how I grew up. I wasn't allowed to go and play at a friend's house if their mom wasn't at home. You know, maybe the mom and the dad both worked or something. You know, I wasn't allowed to go and play there. And the reasoning was purely just because the lack of adult supervision. And at the time, I was never happy about it. And if my mom is listening, sorry, mom. I have maybe once or twice did say that my one friend's mom is home and she wasn't. But we never got up to trouble. And I'm still alive. Jammer maar.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Did you die?
Well, I've got that off my chest now. So, but exactly, now that you're a little bit older, you can understand what happens though, right? What can go wrong? You want to do something as simple as making a salmi and your finger gets cut. what goes through when that happens? Who do you phone? Whatever. So, and again, that same thing. So, taking that to the tech side, I saw a comment that Linda van Rooyen made. If I can jump to that, Joe, she said, Jannie, what happens when you as a parent are totally useless at playing games? And exactly what I thought about what I would do in that situation is, as what Beth is saying, is sit down with your child and like say, hey, explain this game to me. Though, right? It's the only thing you can do is to try and turn that around and get the child to show you what their interest is sparking in that. And I know it's probably very easy for me to say that because I don't have kids, and parents are also busy and whatever. And Beth, it's probably not that easy to just spend all the time playing games with your kids, but
I have 3.
it's going to be the same thing for me as when your kid wants you to sit down and play cookies and tea with them or something, though, right? It's that interaction that they have. So the only thing you can probably do is just to turn that around and say, show me the game, then teach me this game. In the end, kids are going to get better to us. I promise you, my reactions playing online games is by no means what it was 20 years ago. And your kids are going to surpass you and they're going to have more score or whatever than what you're going to rack up. But I am sure in the end it's going to be important for them because they're also spending time with you, sharing and doing something that you guys love, though. So I'm sure there's a bit. So Linda, I'm hoping that answers that specific question, because that's how I would approach that, though, is getting them to show you the game, because that's how you will see these trigger things that comes up in the game that you might learn in the stream about people interacting with them or whatever, even if you don't know. That's how I would answer that.
Yeah, and also you'll never underestimate what asking your child to teach you how to do something can do for your relationship. When you switch that power relationship over to the child, where they can show you something when your entire role in their life has been to teach them, it does something for your relationship with your child that I cannot explain it. I cannot explain it. The look of wonder on my son's face, who's 5, when he can teach me something that I didn't know how to do. It really is, and that's true of playing Nerf battle in the garden. It's true of doing somersaults on the trampoline, and it's true of playing Roblox or Minecraft on a phone or tablet.
I think that has something to do with a child feeling that you're no longer an authority, but a friend. You're no longer a parent, but a best friend, if I can put it that way. Because I remember when I used to go to my dad when Nintendo 64 was still around, and it just came out. And I would go to my dad and be like, Dad, please, play with me this game, whatever it was. I think it was Mortal Kombat or something. I can't remember. And he'd always be like, I don't know how to play this game. It doesn't make any sense. And I'd want to teach him, and he'd sit with me. And I remember feeling like, oh, it's so cool. My dad's like being my buddy, like he's being a friend. That was my personal experience. I don't know how your 5-year-old feels, but I would imagine it's something like that, which it's bonding at the end of the day.
It is.
Yeah, it's a bonding experience. All right, so going to some of the comments very quickly. Chico saying, I was always taught, don't talk to strangers. This applies to the online realm. Responsible use is the lesson. Not being an overbearing parent, or not being overbearing parenting. I guess there is a fine line between being overbearing and parenting. Obviously, someone in my family circle is, in my opinion, a bit overbearing, but at the same time, you can't control everyone, and that's all I'm going to say there. Let's see. Chico also adding to that, saying, my conversations were very controlled when I was much younger. And then he says in parentheses, a time when all you could do was SMS your contacts. And then he closes the parentheses and he says, it seems trivial, but it was a case of detrimental, overbearing parenting. Interesting comment. Bradley Cook saying, a major part of the issue at the moment is parents using technology as a babysitter. I feel that is a very good point to bring up. Beth,
Yes.
We'll start with you. How do you feel about that?
I'm trying not to swear, Joe.
Yes.
Parents, be an adult and spend time with your children. Okay. I know times are hard. Life is stressful. Everything is hard. Everything feels fast paced. Everything feels like, you just want a freaking minute to yourself. Okay. I get it. I've been there. But you can't plop a kid in front of a TV and just ignore them. It can't happen all the time. And I get it that especially when they're little and you can't even go to the loo alone, you need to just have 5 minutes to yourself that you can shower. Okay, be in there, but make sure that that's all it is. And don't let their only interaction be in the comments section on YouTube videos or on TikTok or anything like that. Like, sit down with them, find out what it is that they're interested in on YouTube. See if you can find common ground in that and enjoy some of the content together. But just giving them something to look after them, to keep them occupied, yeah, I'm not so much into that.
Yanni, here's an interesting, you being a tech guy and everything. Now, I know you've said we got to be careful with tech, but surely there's a part of you that says, hey, tech can babysit the kids.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking now, Joe. So, and I'm trying to relate that to our personal life, though. So both my wife and I, we obviously have a little family member in our life, our godchild, and he is 5 years old, or turning almost 6. And obviously, we spent a lot of time with him during his growing up, and obviously having access to tech and that type of stuff. So, I think what was important there was safe access. So, like YouTube Kids, etc., which is a little more tailored toward kids. But then, even in that, it was funny to see his mind wander towards the IRL stuff. So, for the guys that don't know what IRL is, in real life. So there was other kids that would make YouTube videos of their in real life experience, either a birthday party or, unpacking the groceries or whatever it is. And that was what he gravitated towards. And now, having said that, we're Afrikaans people, though, right? So that's our home language. But that is how he picked up English. And in that, he is a 6-year-old now, or almost 6-year-old now, that has an American accent because he's been watching that American content, though. So I think there is safe access to technology that you can expose a kid to. But again, I think, I want to go back to, I think it was Luke, the lead slinger, that made the comment in our previous stream, Joe, previous to stream, was that, you can give them a stick and tell them to play in the garden. You can have whatever you want tech-wise, but it shouldn't be the baseline of society. And I think that's the thing. It comes back to the comments that I think somebody made in chat, and Beth also alluded to, was around screen time and managing screen time, that you don't overdo the one or the other, because now it just comes back to balance, though, again. I mean, when you overdo one thing in life, it's not a good thing for you. And the same thing with tech. So there should be that balance, because we even used old school tech when I was younger, because that's how my sister and I learned English when we were, small, because we had videotapes that was called, I think, You Can Read or something. And you would, like, if you guys remember, every week at CNA, they would sell this videotape, and you get this book, and then you watch it, and then you follow on the book, and that's how we learned English. And that exists today, but in a modern way, because on YouTube that exists. So there's lots of, I think, consumption technology, if I can call it that, where you don't necessarily interact with somebody, but you use it for consumption purpose. That could be an educational thing, because in that same sense, our godson has learned to play chess. He's 5.
Interesting.
That is
And he plays
impressive.
chess really well. And he
Sure.
understands the basics around opening moves, and I'm sure he cheats every now in between then, and you do need to let him win. But doesn't matter though, he's 5. I couldn't play chess when I was 5. And he
Neither
learned
could
that
I.
using the
I
online.
still can't.
So he learned that using an online consumption-based platform. So I think, again, that is where, and we need to also draw the line somewhere if there's time, but we've spoken about online games and them interacting with random people and whatever, but there's also a side of tech that is not necessarily online. That is games you play that stimulates hand-eye coordination and possibly interaction and learning and all kinds of things, different shapes, moving things here, moving things there as you learn chess, etc. So there is that side of it as well. So, but yeah, that's I think I kind of like what they've said around that point.
All right, so Linda also saying her 10-year-old also speaks with an American accent, as we are also Afrikaans speaking.
It's become a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well-
actually very interesting because you have to be exposed to that quite a lot, I think, in order to pick up the accent like that. And again, going back to your point, Jannie and Beth, of having a structure, so to speak. I imagine what you mean by structure and balance, Beth, is just like if I remember growing up, right? There was a time, there was like dinner time, and then there was homework time, and then when homework was done, then I could maybe play the PlayStation, or I could go to a friend's house, or a friend could come over, whatever the case may be. Is that what you mean? So like there's also now in today's world, with tech advancing so much, there's also like an additional like, okay, so you guys have dinner, homework, screen time, which is when you can be on your iPads and your iPhones and whatever, and then go to bed. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, to a certain extent. But it's I suppose, especially for everybody at the moment, everything is kind of higgledy-piggledy.
Obviously.
And kind of school is screen time, which it has been in my house for quite a while. So, yeah, I think definitely, yeah, have a good routine and make sure that you have structure, and especially under these times, because it's incredibly trying. It's incredibly trying. But yeah, I think people are they're also wrapped up in their own tech, so they're finding things to put in front of their children, tech-wise, that'll keep the kids nice and docile, because tech does, it makes zombies. Sorry.
Yeah, digital burnout. You have digital burnout because we have that from a work perspective and also from a relaxation perspective. And I mean,
Yes.
just for me on that though, is I'm an IT person. I sit behind my PC from when I wake up till when my day is done. Then I want to go and play games. Some days it gets so bad that I don't want to play games though, right? So that's burnout. That is a sense of burnout. And, you know, forcing technology onto a child is probably not a good idea, because I know what that feels like. I know when I'm tired of my PC today.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so Chico has a general question for us, and he's asking, do you think stimuli have become less active over time? Like when I was younger, we had things centered around hand-eye coordination and function strengthening. Very, very, very good question. I've often wondered that, because I know there's like this old thing that like even psychiatrists give to kids when they're, when you send your kid to a psychiatrist. There's that box, this cube thing, and each face has like different shapes. And then there's like solids that you put in. You have to match the solid with the shape. So it's like a star. You got to fit it in the star hole. the circle goes in the circle, so on and so forth. That's also something to do with hand-eye coordination and all that stuff.
Spatial awareness.
Spatial awareness, all that stuff.
Yeah.
What about that stuff? I mean, if we now, like Chico said, Chico brings up a good point. Is there tech that can help with that, or is old school the best way to go? Beth, you go first.
Definitely old school. Definitely old school. You can't. A child cannot learn how to hold a pencil properly if they don't build up the strength in their fingers to do so. So, they need to be playing in mud. Or if you're a clean freak of a parent and you don't want them playing in mud, then please get them Play-Doh or even make your own Play-Doh. Like, it's really easy. It's a couple of cups of flour, some water, stick it in the mixer, and you make Play-Doh. Make
forget about the
pizza
food coloring.
bases, food coloring as well. But even just like in the kitchen, you can make pizza bases, and that kneading and getting them to roll little tiny pizzas, get them to make mini pizzas, so you can get them to roll a ball and get them to pinch it flat, and give them pegs to play with, to pinch and get. No, definitely you need real world things, because I don't think pen and paper is completely done with yet. And they're going to need that strength in their fingers. And who knows, maybe one day they're going to want to crochet like I do or something like that. And if they haven't learned that fine motor control by actually physically doing things, we're going to have a very broken world.
Good point.
Very broken.
Jannie?
I think latching onto that, though, that's interesting. And I agree with that, Beth, because again, I have seen how my old toys or my sister's old toys have come to good use with our godson. And I'm talking about old Fisher-Price toys, that old little telephone that you would, pull around and the little eyes would go up or down, that same little, squares. You do need that, because there is no way that in a digital space, even if it is a little futuristic, augmented reality and whatever, that a child will be able to feel what a square feels like in their hand, or what a triangle or whatever feels like. So fully agree with that. There needs to be that balance. You do need to have that physical interaction with things, because in a future world, which is possibly not far from where we are at today, because if you think about it, we're in 2020. 20 years ago, we barely got phones that had cameras, 1 megapixel, as Joe said, and whatever. Let's just go 10 years to that. 10 years to that, we had 286s and 386s and all kinds of old PCs. I don't even think the Xbox and the PlayStation 1 was out then yet, in like the very early 90s, late 80s. But that is when we had TV games and all those things. But still doesn't matter, though. I think that scale on how technology is ramping up and how it's changing the world, in a generation or two from now, it's going to be a whole lot different, though, because you are going to be in a world where if you don't have and use technology, the way how we work today and whatever will be a whole lot different. But it still leaves me thinking, like, what is going to happen with people when you have replaced the whole Nike factory with robots and nobody actually puts shoes together anymore with their hands or whatever. Now, this is probably a very bad example, because that is possibly like human labor, a bad human labor of how it's used. But in that world, you are going to find that the people with really good homemade type of skills, making handmade things, that's what's going to sell, for a lot of money, and not the tech, because tech is going to become so, like today, tech costs money for us. It costs money to have the latest iPhone. It costs money to have a new Xbox or whatever. But 100 years from now, maybe not even 100 years, maybe 50 years from now, that is going to be, doesn't matter. You buy a house, it's going to come with all that crap. You'll have a standard issue TV, you'll have a standard issue everything, Netflix 2.0, whatever, we'll have that. So where do you then have that skill that you grew up with, physically using your hands and doing things? Because I think, like you said, that, making cookie dough, making cookies, cutting out cookies, there's no way you can replace that digitally.
Absolutely. I agree. And it's actually a fair point because I didn't even think of that. All right. So we have 5 minutes left. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the comments very quickly. We have Chris Wyatt in the house. Colonel Chris Wyatt, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us. Be honest. The reason why you are not a nuclear physicist had nothing to do with gaming. It is because you, a dodgy pseudo Egyptian-looking dude. No? Very random, Chris, but thank you for your comments. It's much greatly appreciated. And for those of you who haven't yet, please subscribe to Chris White. Talks a lot about South Africa, and he's a colonel from the military. Well, retired colonel from the U.S. military. Very interesting oak. Please go check him out. And speaking of which, please go, for those of you that have just tuned in, please go subscribe to Beth YouTube channel, Eleutheria, all about liberty, and of course, Jannie, who speaks about gaming and other things on his YouTube channel. Now, Storm has joined us. Says, the year 3025, I'm dating a hologram of Jennifer Lopez. I like that. All right, cool. So I think for the most part, all right, the whole discussion, I think, at least for me, I'll be honest, I came into this quite negative. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I came into this quite negative because I've heard horror stories of kids in tech. But if you look into, maybe the relationship of the child with the parent, I think that's the thing. Are we in agreement that if a child stumbles onto something they're not supposed to, gets involved into something they're not supposed to online, the parents must take responsibility? Is that what we're saying?
100%. What I'm also, I'm loath to say, parents are being too irresponsible or too lackadaisical. I'm loath to say that because I know that there are really, really good parents out there that think they're doing the absolute best for their children, and they sometimes realize too late. And then by the time they do realize that something has happened, the child pretty much locks them out of their life, type of thing. I do know that those situations do happen. So I'm not going to say blanketly that all parents are bad if that happens. But what I am going to say is at least try. At least try and get through to your child in terms of what they might be experiencing, and that maybe if they step away from that app or whatever the situation is that is causing them harm, that things might get better. So, at least if you try and make that first step, then yes. But yeah, for the most part, it's probably lack of parenting, generally.
Jannie?
Yeah, I agree. I think we shouldn't, as adults, I can't say for parents, but as adults with a child being exposed to technology and how a child is using the technology, we shouldn't be oblivious to what can happen, I think. If something does happen, Beth touched on it, that your child's behavior might change, a parent will know, and a parent should know when your child is doing something really out of the ordinary, weird, or whatever that may be. But I think it's not too late to at least talk to them about it. And I can't remember who made the comment, but don't overdo that, though, that you are scaring the child and forcing him to not share with you. I think you really need to come in slow and easy and start having that conversation rather than over overpowering them with it, because then you're definitely not going to win. Kids are gonna close up. So,
Yes.
but I agree with that. I think we shouldn't steer away from those responsibilities, because as in real life, you have a responsibility to protect somebody. And that protection for me extends into the digital world. And if you don't know, then Google or something. I don't know, but you know, then there is so much information out there around, safe settings for Instagram, TikTok, whatever.
Yes.
So,
Well,
Yes.
speaking of which, Yanni did send me a voice note earlier saying that he has some. You said something about security with Facebook, Instagram, and all the social media stuff that we could possibly talk about that in the future, which I think we will do. Right now, it is hitting the hour, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So I have to call it, as I do have a upcoming show, which is going to be very interesting for some people who are in the Twitter of things. Bianca Van Vyk will be on. I don't even. Sorry, that came out so wrong.
Van
Bianca
Wyk.
Van what?
Van Wyk.
Van Vyk. Van. I don't know why I say it like that. Van
you're
Vyk.
close.
Van Vyk. Van Vyk. I don't know.
Good enough.
Yeah, Bianca will
Just
be.
say Bianca and be done with it.
Yeah, but now some of her friends are gonna think that, like, oh, look at Joe, he's making fun of her name. I'm really not. I
No,
can't.
we're not making fun of your name. We're making fun of Joe's American accent. That's what we're making fun of.
Joe the American.
Anyway, she's gonna be on my show at 8:30, so in 29 minutes. So please come and join us. We're going to be talking about the social media discourse, specifically with woke and anti-woke, her term, not mine. But we'll be talking in general about social media discourse and the problems with some people being on social media, cyberbullying, tolerance, and maybe some other topics will arise from that. So please do join me at 8:30. If you're busy, then I will see you tomorrow evening. I have more shows coming up. Just subscribe if you're new to my channel. Please, I have content almost every day coming your way. And I would like to thank Beth from Eleutheria. I keep on doing that. Beth from Eleutheria and Jannie for joining me and talking about tech and children. I believe, like I said, I think I'm a bit more positive and hopeful for parents that have children in today's world. I'm glad to know that there are ways and people are talking about with their kids about how they should be online, the restrictions, the this, the that, and a bit of control with their children. I'm glad to see that. Again, I'm not a parent, so I didn't know that those were the conversations that are having. But Beth, well done on you. And guys, I guess Beth, if anybody has any questions, maybe Beth, go subscribe to her channel, and maybe Beth will do a stream on tech and kids, and you guys can ask her questions. I don't know, sometime in the future. Jannie will be back on my show in the future. We'll be, and I guess I'll say this now, Jannie and I are planning to do a bit of a guided tour of the dark web. We're going to prove that it does exist, and more on that a bit later, but that's where I'm going to leave it there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning in. Beth, thank you. Jannie, thank you. Do you guys have anything you want to say before
Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Joe. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I think we've said it.
Yeah, thanks to both of you. It was a really good conversation.
It was, indeed.
Likewise.
All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please leave a like. Please subscribe. Stay safe. Be kind to one another. And I'll see you at the next one. Cheers. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and a share. That's how my content gets out there. Also, don't be afraid to comment. I usually do respond to the comments in the comment section below. If you want to support my channel, please go to the link in the description below, support my channel, and you'll be taken to my website, which has all the details. Also, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Also, feel free to check out the links below to my social media accounts. Give me a follow, and I'll see you at the next one.